The system of yoga entails controlling the mind, and the Lord of the mind is Aniruddha. It is stated that Aniruddha is four-handed with Sudarshana chakra, conch shell, club, and lotus flower. There are 24 forms of Vishnu, each differently named. Among these 24 forms, Sankara, Shaman, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Vasudeva are depicted very nicely in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it is stated that Aniruddha is worshipped by the yogi. Meditation upon voidness is a modern invention of the fertile brain of some speculators. Actually, the process of yoga meditation, as prescribed in this verse, should be fixed upon the form of Aniruddha. By meditating on Aniruddha, one can become free from the agitation of acceptance and rejection. When one's mind is fixed upon Aniruddha, one gradually becomes God realized. He approaches the pure status of Krishna consciousness, which is the ultimate goal of yoga. Okay, text 29. By transformation of the false ego in passion, intelligence takes birth. O virtuous lady, the functions of intelligence are to help in ascertaining the nature of objects when they come into view and to help the senses. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Intelligence is the discriminating power to understand an object, and it helps the senses make choices. Therefore, intelligence is supposed to be the master of the senses. The perfection of intelligence is attained when one becomes fixed in the activities of Krishna consciousness. By the proper use of intelligence, one's consciousness is expanded, and the ultimate explanation, and the ultimate expansion of consciousness is Krishna consciousness. Text 30. Doubt, misapprehension, correct apprehension, memory, and sleep, as determined by their different functions, are said to be the distinct characteristics of intelligence. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Doubt is one of the most, is the important function, no, doubt is one of the important functions of intelligence. Blind acceptance of something does not give evidence of intelligence. Therefore, the word samsaya is very important. In order to cultivate intelligence, one should be doubtful in the beginning. But doubting is not very favorable when information is received from a proper source. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that doubting the words of the authority is the cause of destruction. As described in the Patanjali Yoga system, pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smritya. By intelligence only, one can understand things as they are. By intelligence only can one understand whether or not he is the body. The study to determine whether one's identity is spiritual or material begins in doubt. When one is able to analyze his actual position, the false identification with the body is detected. This is viparyasa. When false identification is detected, then real identification can be understood. Real understanding is described here as nishchaya, or proved experimental knowledge. This experimental knowledge can be achieved when one has understood the false knowledge. By experimental or proved knowledge, one can understand that he is not the body, but spirit soul. Smriti means memory, and swapa means sleep. Sleep is also necessary to keep the intelligence in working order. If there is no sleep, the brain cannot work nicely. In Bhagavad Gita, it is especially mentioned that persons who regulate eating, sleeping, and other necessities of the body in proper proportion become very successful in the yoga process. These are some of the aspects of the analytical study of intelligence, as described in both the Patanjali Yoga system and the Sankhya philosophy system of Kapila Deva in Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's go over this a little bit. And it says, and let's go back to verse 29. By transformation of the false ego in passion, intelligence takes birth. O virtuous lady, the functions of intelligence are to help in ascertaining the nature of objects when they come into view and to help the senses. And then the purport is, intelligence is the discriminating power to understand an object, and it helps the senses make choices. Therefore, intelligence is supposed to be the master of the senses. The perfection of intelligence is attained when one becomes fixed in the activities of Krishna consciousness. By the proper use of intelligence, one's consciousness is expanded, and the ultimate expansion of consciousness is Krishna consciousness. Well, this is a profound verse. It has a short purport, but it is explaining something that is of utmost importance. It's explaining the genesis of intelligence. And it says, by transformation of the false ego in passion, intelligence takes birth. O virtuous lady, the functions of intelligence are to help in ascertaining, meaning in understanding, the nature of objects when they come into view and to help the senses. Okay, so intelligence is the ability to understand things in their proper state. So, and that therefore it says, the purport, intelligence is the discriminating power to understand an object. So discriminating power. So it means that you eliminate all things that the object is not, and you accept it as it is. And it helps, and this discriminating power to understand an object helps senses make choices. Therefore, intelligence is supposed to be the master of the senses. The perfection of intelligence is attained when one becomes fixed in the activities of Krishna consciousness. So we should all be fixed in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Then our intelligence can be fixed and by the activities or in the activities of Krishna consciousness. By proper use of intelligence, one's consciousness is expanded, and the ultimate expansion of consciousness is Krishna consciousness. I like the way Prabhupada writes these purports. Very, very nice. It gives you read the verse, but then the purport gives you a much deeper understanding. So the verse says, by transformation of the false ego in passion, intelligence takes birth. O virtuous lady, the function of intelligence, or the functions of intelligence, are to help in ascertaining the nature of objects when they come into view, and to help the senses. Okay, so obviously the intelligence is that function by which one can ascertain what is real and what is not real. And it's the transformation of the false ego in passion. That's why it says the functions of intelligence are to help in ascertaining, meaning understanding, the nature of objects when they come into view, and to help the senses. Okay. So in the purport, correctly, Prabhupada says intelligence is the discriminating power to understand an object. So, for example, you can see things, let's say on a hot day, while driving on an asphalt road, you can see water in the distance, but actually there's no water in the distance. It's an optical illusion due to the hot sun beating down on the asphalt road. So someone who has intelligence can understand this is an illusory vision of seeing water in the distance of the road by an optical, let's say, illusion. When the heat of a hot day creates this illusory vision of water in the distance. So intelligence is the discriminating power. In other words, you can understand what is real, what is not real. You have the ability to discriminate what is real, what is not real. The discriminating power to understand an object. And it helps the senses make choices. That's a very nice definition of intelligence. Therefore, intelligence is supposed to be the master of the sense, obviously, because intelligence is the way to discriminate what an object is, and helps the senses make choices. The perfection of intelligence is attained when one becomes fixed in the activities of Krishna consciousness. By the proper use of intelligence, one's consciousness is expanded, and the ultimate expansion of consciousness is Krishna consciousness. So in other words, without being Krishna conscious, whatever we see, whatever we, let's say, focus our mind on, we'll never really understand correctly what we are seeing. We need to have intelligence. And that is when we become fixed in the activities of Krishna consciousness, that is the perfection of intelligence. And then by proper use, of intelligence once consciousness is expanded, and the ultimate expansion of Krishna consciousness, the ultimate expansion of consciousness is Krishna consciousness. So these are definitions Prabhupada is giving. Let's start again with this purport. It says intelligence is the discriminating power to understand an object. Okay, so that is a definition. And I think even the mundane scholars would agree to this definition of intelligence. And it helps the senses make choices. Therefore, intelligence is supposed to be the master of the senses. The perfection of intelligence is attained when one becomes fixed in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Well, that might be challenged by the mundane philosophers. By proper use of intelligence, one's consciousness is expanded, and the ultimate expansion of consciousness is Krishna consciousness. So that last statement would be, let's say, would be challenged by many other mundane philosophers. The ultimate expansion of consciousness is Krishna consciousness. Well, most of these big scholars don't believe in Krishna, so they wouldn't accept this statement. Okay. So now, what are we reading in these verses, or what are these verses talking about? They're talking about how to perceive things correctly, and so the next verse 30 says, doubt, misapprehension, meaning misunderstanding something, correct apprehension, meaning correctly understanding something, memory and sleep, as determined by their different functions, are said to be the distinct characteristics of intelligence. Yeah, if you don't sleep, like for example, a lot of times students will take amphetamines in order to not sleep and cram a lot of knowledge so they can pass a test. Well, that usually is not a good thing to do. Well, some students say, no, I have to do it so I can pass the test. But no, it can actually be a very negative thing and create all kinds of mistakes in perception. One needs a certain amount of sleep every day. So if a student stays up 2 or 3 days studying, cramming, they're studying because they didn't do all their homework on a regular basis. Oftentimes they take amphetamines. These are drugs that make you stay awake. But not only that is detrimental for your health, but it can help you, but it can cause you to be and cause you to hurt or let's say have a very compromised perception. So you need everything depends on regulation. So if you did not do all your homework and study on a regular basis, and then when it comes to taking a test, staying up 2 days or 3 days without sleep to cram all the knowledge that you should have learned during a 6-month period is a very bad thing to do. It can actually be detrimental to your health. And it doesn't mean that you will really understand a subject. So, regulated life is necessary, whether you want to be a successful student or just a successful human being in everyday life. Having regulated sleep and awakening and work and all these things regulated makes you much more, your consciousness much more, let's say, sharp and able to discriminate things correctly. So this verse is explaining, this verse 30, doubt, misapprehension, correct apprehension, memory, and sleep, as determined by their different functions, are said to be the distinct characteristics of intelligence. Okay. Purport. Doubt is one of the important functions of intelligence. Blind acceptance of something does not give evidence of intelligence. Therefore, the word samsaya is very important. In order to cultivate intelligence, one should be doubtful in the beginning. But doubting is not very favorable when information is received from the proper source. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that doubting the words of the authority is the cause of destruction. Okay, so this has let's say it's like a double razor, double razor. So you can get cut on both sides of the razor. So doubt is an important function of the intelligence. But if you doubt everything, you can not make intelligent decisions. So when should we doubt and when should we not doubt? Well, when we come in contact with, let's say, devotees who are speaking from Shastra, we don't need to doubt. If we are in the company of people who are simply speculating, then we should have doubt. Okay, so doubt is one of the important functions of intelligence. Okay, so you can read that and you think, oh, then I should, doubt everything. No, that's not true. Because if you doubt everything, you will make a mistake. There are bona fide statements made by genuine devotees based on Shastric evidence. If we doubt that, then we basically doubt everything, even the things that are true. So therefore, there has to be discrimination to doubt properly. Doubt is one of the important functions of intelligence. Blind acceptance of something does not give evidence of intelligence. Okay, that's a very profound statement there. Therefore, the word samsaya is very important. In order to cultivate intelligence, one should be doubtful in the beginning. But doubting is not very favorable when information is received from the proper source. There it is. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that doubting the words of the authority is the cause of destruction. Okay, so this doubting everything without, let's say, discrimination is, it could be the cause of destruction. So, what is proper doubting and what is not proper doubting? Okay, now let's read a little further. As described in the Patanjali Yoga system, pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smritya. By intelligence only one can understand things as they are. So, what is the definition of intelligence? You're able to discern things in the right context. In other words, the important, it says, doubt is one of the important functions of intelligence. Blind acceptance of something does not give evidence of intelligence. Therefore, the word samsaya, which means doubt, is very important. Let me just see. Samsaya means doubt.
Yeah.
Therefore, the word samsaya is very important. In order to cultivate intelligence, one should be doubtful in the beginning, but doubting is not very favorable when information is received from the proper source. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that doubting the words of the authority is the cause of destruction. So here we have what you would call the challenge of discrimination. If you doubt everything, you'll make a mistake. But if you doubt in a discriminating way, it's very helpful. So how to see the difference? If you doubt shastric evidence, then you're making a big mistake. But if you doubt speculative statements, that is the proper way. So therefore it says, doubt is one of the important functions of intelligence. Blind acceptance of something does not give evidence of intelligence. Okay. So that's one aspect of blind acceptance of something. Therefore, the word samsaya, which means doubt, is very important. In order to cultivate intelligence, one should be doubtful in the beginning. But doubting is not very favorable when information is received from the proper source. Yeah, shastric evidence. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that doubting the words of the authority is the cause of destruction. So someone who's not very, expert in Krishna conscious knowledge, they would think that this is double talk. On the one hand, it's saying that doubt is an important function of intelligence. Okay. But doubting is not very favorable when information is received in a proper source. Okay, well, it makes sense. And then in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that doubting the words of authority is the cause of destruction. But how do we determine what is the authority? There's so many people claim that they have the authority, and that we should just accept what they say. Well, this is why we have to have education in order to discriminate what is real knowledge and what is fake knowledge. Most of what kids learn in school is fake knowledge. Even if their major is philosophy. So if your major is philosophy, then that's why a lot of kids, they don't want to learn philosophy. They want to learn computer technology. But philosophy is the ability to discern what is true and what is not true. Whereas if you study just computer technology, you don't have to worry about what's true and what's not true. You just study whatever they say and you accept it. But when you're dealing with philosophy, you have to be able to understand what is real, what is not real, what is true, what is not true. So, doubting is an important function of intelligence. However, if we doubt everything, like, for example, the statements of the acharyas, then it is wrongly used. Therefore, the word samsaya or doubt is very important. In order to cultivate intelligence, one should be doubtful in the beginning. But doubting is not very favorable when information is received from the proper source. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that doubting the rules of authority is the cause of destruction. So here we have the correct use of doubt and the incorrect use of doubt. The incorrect use of doubt can end up in destruction, and the correct use of doubt can end up in properly discerning what is the truth and what is not the truth. As described in the Patanjali Yoga system, pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smritya. By intelligence only, one can understand things as they are. By intelligence, okay. By intelligence only, one can understand things as they are. By intelligence only can one understand whether or not he is the body. The study to determine whether one's identity is spiritual or material begins in doubt. Mm-hmm. When one is able to analyze his actual position, the false identification with the body is become. That's a beautiful statement by Prabhupada. Mm-hmm. This is viparyasya. When false identification is detected, then real identification can be understood. Real understanding is described here as nishchaya, or proved experimental knowledge. These are amazing statements by Prabhupada. This experimental knowledge can be achieved when one has understood the false knowledge. By experimental or proved knowledge, one can understand that he is not the body, but spirit. Okay, so the beginning of knowledge is to be able to discern what is the spirit soul and what is the body, and not to identify with the body, but to identify with the spirit soul. So right from the beginning of knowledge, let's say a kid is 2 years old, or 5 years old, or 10 years old, or 20 years old, they usually make the mistake of identifying with the body. And that means that almost every decision that they make is going to be false or misleading. Let's put it not false, but misleading, because they identify with the body rather than identifying with the soul. That means whoever they see, they're also only going to see the body and not the soul of that person. Or if they see an animal, again, they're only seeing the body and not the soul of the animal. Or if they see a tree, they're only seeing the tree and not the soul of the tree. So in Krishna consciousness, we develop the, let's say, power of soul to soul perception. Whereas in material life, we are limited to body to body perception. Therefore, we never really understand what something is in reality. It can be an object or it can be a person. If we're only seeing body to body, in the way of body to body, we'll never really understand the real or reality of something. Okay, so now here it's mentioning Patanjali Yoga System. And it gives a verse from the Patanjali Yoga System. Pramana viparya vikalpa nidra smita. Okay, pramana means how to discern what is the truth. By intelligence only, one can understand things as they are. By intelligence only can one understand whether or not he is the body. The study to determine whether one's identity is spiritual or material begins in doubt. When one is able to analyze his actual position, the false identification with the body is detected. See, now that's enough right there. This is not taught in school. And therefore, almost everything we learn in mundane schools is misleading. And it says, and that's why it says here, when one is able to analyze his actual position, the false identification with the body is detected. This is viparyasa. When false identification is detected, then real identification can be understood. Now, this is real philosophy. They don't teach this to kids. Like, for example, when Hitler was in his heyday, Hitler and his cronies, they were indoctrinating kids to believe in the false concept of the Aryan race. And it was false. And what happened? It led to horrible destruction. So, and that's why here it says, when false identification is detected. Well, that was what Hitler was teaching, was false identification. The Übermensch in German. Übermensch means the superior, superior human being. Übermensch. Über means great, and Mensch means mankind. So this theory of Hitler was that he was creating a superior human beings. And therefore, they identified inferior human beings and they killed them. Mm-hmm. They were getting gypsies, they were killing gypsies, they were getting Jews, they were killing Jews, they were getting people with physical deformation or whatever, they were killing them. They were trying to cull what they considered superior material qualities of a person, and whenever their so-called standard of ideal human being was not met, they would kill those people. So, in the same way, the study to determine whether one's identity is spiritual or material begins in doubt. When one is able to analyze his actual position, the false identification with the body is detected. Well, Hitler wasn't teaching the correct identification of the living entity, and he was teaching the false identification with the of the body. When false identification is detected, then real identification can be understood. So there were people in Germany in the time of Hitler who didn't believe in his Übermensch, superior race the people, its philosophy, and they didn't support Hitler. But they had to be careful because the Hitler teachers were teaching their kids to spy on their parents. That's very dangerous. So if a kid was taught in school to spy on their parents to see if the parents were favorable to Hitler or not favorable to Hitler, some kids did rat out their parents to the Hitler people, and they were killed or put into concentration camps. So you see how it's dangerous when kids are put in the under the influence of more or less what you would call radical teachers who have a false philosophy of life, and it goes as far as to teach the kid to, as they say in colloquial English, rat on their own parents. And it happens a lot in the time of Hitler, where the kids were telling their teachers that their parents were not following the Nazi philosophy, and they would be arrested and put in jail or killed. So that should be an example why you should not indiscriminately put your kid under the, let's say, tutelage or under the learning process of unqualified teachers. You have to uh, understand the philosophy of the teacher or the culture of the teacher before you let your child be so-called educated 6 or 8 hours a day by a teacher. It's dangerous to just close your eyes and hope that the teacher is good. So, first of all, you have to understand what is good and what is bad. So that's why here it says, by intelligence only one can understand things as they are. By intelligence only can one understand whether or not he is the body. Well, the Nazis were teaching that you are the body, you are this body, but you have to have a body of what they call the Übermensch, the superior person. And the ones that are not Übermensch, the superior person, they can be killed. Can be culled from society and either ostracized or killed. And that's what they did. They killed gypsies, they killed Jews, they killed all kinds of different people that they considered were not Übermensch, superior human beings. Of course, their concept of a superior human being was wrong. It was based on the body. It was not based on the soul. So it says, the study to determine whether one's identity is spiritual or material begins in doubt. Okay, that's a fair statement. When one is able to analyze his actual position, the false identification with the body is detected. This is viparyasa. When false identification is detected, then real identification can be understood. Real understanding is described here as nishchaya, or proved experimental knowledge. Oh, it's an amazing statement by Prabhupada. This experimental knowledge can be achieved when one has understood the false knowledge. By experimental or proved knowledge, one can understand that he is not the body, but spirit, soul. So, we have not only to understand real knowledge, but actually to help us understand real knowledge, we have to understand what is false knowledge. Very important statement. If you never learn what is false knowledge, then you could be taught false knowledge by a teacher who claims that what she or he is teaching is real knowledge. So you have to understand false knowledge in order to understand properly what is real knowledge. Do they teach that in schools? No, they don't. The assumption is that whatever is in the school book, that's real knowledge. But oftentimes, there are many mistakes in those school books. And so, what is the philosophy of modern education? Modern education is based on atheistic humanism. Look up that word humanism. Modern education is based on atheistic humanism. Look up the definition of the word humanism.
It's a worldview that combines principles of humanism with atheism.
See, it's atheism. Go ahead.
It emphasizes the value, agency, and the dignity of human beings without reliance on theistic beliefs or divine
Without
authority.
reliance on Krishna consciousness. Or, theistic philosophy. Yeah. Go ahead.
So the core principles, number one, rejection of theism, denies
What?
rejection of
Yeah,
theism.
rejection. I thought
Yeah.
it was something else. Yeah. Yeah. So it completely rejects Krishna consciousness or any type of belief in God, basically. That's the modern philosophy of education in the United States and in the world. It's spread all over the world now. That atheistic humanism. Go ahead.
And then number two, human-centered philosophy. Humans are the central concern, not divine entities or supernatural forces. Advocates for personal responsibility and human flourishing. Number three, ethical framework. Morality is grounded in reason, empathy, and societal well-being rather than religious doctrine. Encourages ethical behavior based on the consequences of actions and their impact on others. Rational inquiry emphasizes science, evidence, and critical thinking as tools for understanding reality. Rejects dogma and superstition. Autonomy and freedom. Advocates for individual freedom and self-determination. Opposes authoritarianism, whether religious or secular. Social progress. Strives for equality, justice, and human rights. Seeks to improve the human condition through education, technology, and social reforms.
That whole thing is nonsense. But that is the philosophy that's used for educating kids today. And it's completely false. They're trying to say that anything, spiritual is false. But actually, that whole philosophy that you just read now, that is completely false. And it's teaching, this is the philosophy used to teach kids. It's called atheistic humanism. Humanism, just by itself, is atheistic. So you don't even have to say atheistic humanism. The definition of humanism makes it very clear that it does not accept the existence of supernatural beings like Krishna. Right? So this is the fundamental philosophy of knowledge that's being taught to kids in schools today. And it's based on the humanism. And look at the definition of humanism.
Just the humanism or the atheistic humanism?
Well, look up humanism, just straight humanism.
It's a philosophical and ethical statement that emphasizes the value, dignity, and agency of human beings individually and collectively. It prioritizes human welfare, rationality, and progress, often advocating for reason, science, and secular ethics as the foundation for understanding the world and solving human problems. Human dignity. Every person has intrinsic worth and deserves respect regardless of background, beliefs, or status. Number two, rationality and reason promotes critical thinking and evidence-based decision making over superstition or dogma.
Over religion, basically.
Number three, ethical behavior. Morality is derived from human needs and empathy and societal well-being rather than divine command.
There it is. Rejects Krishna consciousness.
Number four, focus on humanity, centers on human concerns, values, and aspirations, often rejecting supernatural explanations.
Rejecting spiritual knowledge.
Commitment to progress, advocates for education, scientific inquiry, and social reforms to improve the human condition. And autonomy and responsibility encourages individuals to take responsibility for their lives and contribute positively to society.
See that it's almost impossible for a kid to understand that they're being misled by explanations like that.
Yeah, it sounds like too good.
It sounds too good.
Yeah, sounds good. And
So-
not just the kids school, Maharaj, even the adults,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have more conviction in the atheistic humanism.
They don't even know what humanism means.
They don't even know that. Yeah.
They don't understand that atheistic humanism is the basis of the teaching curriculum in schools.
Yes.
See? And they don't understand anything, because even though people have PhDs, they don't really understand what happened in school, what happened in their education.
Yeah.
Atheistic humanism is extremely dangerous. And that's why I tell people, don't put your kid in school. It's a type of child abuse when you do that. Of course, nobody listens to what I say. You don't listen to what I say.
Yes.
So we have to understand things as they are. If we have a false concept of something, it's dangerous and it can lead to serious consequences. Serious consequences is at some point after 10 years or 15 years of materialistic, humanistic education, your kid cannot believe in God. At one point, they said, I don't believe in God anymore. I only believe in science and humanistic philosophy. See the word humanist, right? It's actually a bad word, but it sounds good.
Good.
The way they describe it, it sounds good. That's it's completely what you would call the definition of an atheist. Yeah, that's our dilemma today. So children are not actually being educated, they're being indoctrinated. Look that word up, indoctrinated. This is what the Nazis were doing. They were indoctrinating kids. They were not really educating kids.
It refers to the process of teaching or instilling a specific set of beliefs, ideas, or ideologies in someone, often in a way that discourages critical thinking or questioning.
Very good. Exactly. Yeah, if your kid does homework and is given the latitude to write a paper on any subject that they want, and then they write about Krishna consciousness, the teacher would, I mean, it's happened to my kids. The teacher said, "This is not. You didn't actually do the homework correctly."
Yeah.
She wrote all about Krishna consciousness. The teacher rejected it.
So this is also, at least in the Western world, same this indoctrination. Even Christianity was, because they didn't have explanations for some of the things.
Yeah.
So it came across when they couldn't answer some of the fundamentals.
They said that the sun was orbiting the Earth, where it was the opposite, right?
Yeah.
But they were teaching in the schools for a long time that the sun's going around the Earth.
Yeah.
Right. Then when they found out that the Earth is actually going around the sun, it was a shock. And at first, what do you call this? That's just a blissful name. Anyway, they didn't accept it at first, and they were going to put Galileo. They were going to put him in jail or kill him. Look up Galileo. He's the one that said, "Wait a minute, this sun is not going around the Earth. The Earth is going around the sun." And they threatened to kill him.
Yeah, he was between 1564 and 1642. Was an Italian astronomer, physicist, and mathematician who is often referred to as the father of modern science. His work laid the foundation for modern physics and astronomy, and he made significant contributions to scientific methodology and our understanding of the universe. Key contributions: astronomy, telescope improvements. Galileo did not invent the telescope, but he significantly improved its design, creating a device with magnification sufficient to study celestial objects. The discoveries he did using this included moons of Jupiter. Galileo discovered 4 of Jupiter's largest moons in 1610, now called the Galileo moons. This supported the idea that not all celestial bodies orbit Earth. Phases of Venus. Observed that Venus exhibited phases similar to Moon, which supported the heliocentric model, the sun-centered system proposed by Copernicus.
Copernicus.
Yeah. Sunspots. Galileo observed the sunspots. Galileo observed dark spots on the sun, challenging the belief that celestial bodies were perfect and unchanging. Then, lunar surface. Discovered that the moon's surface was not smooth but covered with craters and mountains. Physics, kinematics, and dynamics. Galileo formulated the concepts of inertia and studied the motion of objects, laying the groundwork for Newton's laws of motion. Free fall experiments demonstrated that objects fall at the same rate regardless of their mass. disproving Aristotle's theory using inclined planes to study motion systematically.
See, that was a big thing. He was there's this building called the
Pisa?
yeah
Leaning Tower of Pisa?
the leaning tower of Pisa. So he's going on both sides of the building. So the building is not straight up, right? And then he drops something from both sides, and they both hit the ground at the same time.
Mm.
You know, and he proved that, that there's this. Well, he was studying gravity
Yeah.
and the laws of gravity by experiments like that.
He also did the pendulum studies, observed the period of the pendulum is independent of its.
The main thing was that at that time, his time, people believed that the sun and everything was circumambulating the earth, that the earth was the center of the universe.
Yeah. Right? So that's where they're writing next to the conflict with the church.
Yeah.
Heliocentrism versus geocentrism.
In other words, is the earth going around the sun or is the sun going around the earth?
Yeah. So Galileo supported the Copernican model, which stated that the earth and other planets orbit the sun. This contradicted the Ptolemaic model.
What model?
Ptolemaic. P-T-O-L-E.
Oh, Ptolemy. Yeah, he was a
Ptolemaic model.
Yes.
Ptolemaic.
Yeah.
Ptolemaic.
He's a researcher also. Ptolemaic.
Yeah, Ptolemaic. And church teachings which held that the earth was the center of the universe. He was actually.
They were going to kill him.
Yeah.
They were going to put him in jail and kill him.
So he was forced to
deny.
Yeah, recant his views publicly. He spent the rest of his life under house arrest.
Yeah. You see how the Catholics are anti-science.
It started with Christianity, science, but to the point where it challenged the Christianity itself.
Yeah.
And then, so they use the same argument of indoctrination against the religion, but to the point where they started indoctrination.
Yeah. They were fanatics.
Yeah, so right. No,
they actually burned some people. They would declare a woman a witch, and then they would burn them in public. So, Galileo, they were going to put him in jail. I think they did.
House arrest.
House arrest, yeah.
For the rest of it.
They didn't want him to spread his knowledge. Because they wanted they wanted to prove that all the planets are circumambulating the Earth. But actually, Galileo proved that no, the Earth is circumambulating the sun.
Mm.
It's called heliocentric theory, as opposed to the geocentric theory. And they were going to kill him, or at least they put him in jail, right? That's how dangerous it was to be let's say, a scientist. Yeah. Yeah.
Was it written in the Bible? That's the reason Christians were following, or what was the base of the Christian people to follow?
They wanted to prove that the Earth is the center of the universe.
It was not written anywhere, but it was their speculation.
Yeah.
Or it could be Maharaj from they misinterpreted from Sanatana Dharma.
What?
Did they I was looking at the ChatGPT. What did Sanatana Dharma say?
Yeah.
And then ChatGPT is saying that in Sanatana Dharma, these are symbolic models. Earth was the center of the universe. That's what they mentioned. ChatGPT mentions, and
Is that the Veda-based
Not a-
version or?
not Veda base, just ChatGPT version.
Hmm.
Then says Sanatana Dharma says the center, Earth is the center of the universe, but just as it's a symbolic, spiritual indication. So could that be church also took this kind of information from Sanatana Dharma and then just became dogmatic?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
ChatGPT. That's
don't know. They're saying that the church took the idea of the earth,
Mhm.
the
Jesus.
sun orbiting the earth rather than the earth orbiting the sun.
I haven't confirmed from ChatGPT whether church took the readings from the Sanatana Dharma as a direct representation.
Mm,
Could that be a reason? I'll check.
okay.
But again, I don't know if there is a historical proof, but Jesus Christ also went to India before
Before his preaching started.
preaching started.
Yeah, 12 years. They don't know what he was doing.
Hmm.
So they speculate that he went to India and was taught a lot of things in India. Which is probably true. When Jesus was born, these sages came from India to see him, see the baby. Okay, so these are interesting points, but the main thing is you see that there's this
Yeah, so there's about
dogma between the Catholic Church and modern science. So now the Catholic Church is a lot more careful to not make statements that are can be debunked by modern science. Right? But they still have some, let's say, principles that are false. Like, for example, still eating meat. They didn't figure out that you shouldn't eat meat. And there are other things too. So that's why Krishna consciousness doesn't have any mistakes in it. Christianity has a lot of mistakes still, even though they cleaned up some mistakes, but they still have a lot of mistakes in their philosophy. Like, for example, you only live once.
Yeah.
You see, that's a major false statement, right? And the other thing is, you go to hell, you can never get out of hell. You're there forever. That's another mistake. There's a whole bunch of mistakes in Christian philosophy. And it's very dangerous also. That's why a lot of people don't believe in Christianity. Because if they have a discriminating mind, you'll see that a lot of these statements that they make are false.
That shows, Maharaj, how important it is to stick to the Shastras.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Vedic Shastras.
Vedic Shastras.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will be like downhill.
You'll be misled. You'll be misled.
My friend who is a PhD.
Huh?
My
Yeah.
friend who is a PhD, he became more sincere into Christian faith after the graduation.
Yeah. Was that good or bad? Huh?
Doesn't seem to be good, but
Well, it could be good in some ways.
Yeah, from their point of view, they're having the best of their life.
By becoming a Christian.
Yeah.
Well, there are the things in Christianity is Jesus Christ, right? He's a pure devotee. But Haridas Thakur is greater than Jesus Christ. Christ only liberated those people that accepted him as, the Son of God or whatever. But Haridas Thakur accepted everyone. He didn't put any, limitations.
Yeah.
So he's greater than Jesus Christ. And there's a purport like that. And Prabhupada has, proving that although Jesus Christ was a great devotee, Haridas Thakur was much greater. Not only Haridas Thakur, others also.
Vaishnava, yes.
Without Prabhupada, we wouldn't know anything.
Yeah.
We'd be floating around in the ocean of speculation.
Yes.
Okay, any other points we want to make? Any questions?
Any questions online?
There was a question with Maharaj. In verse 23, 23, we touched the material ego there first. And when they
Verse 23?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we went to the 26, the word becomes false ego. So I was trying to understand the transition there.
Well, 23 says the material ego brings up from the Mahatma, which evolved from the Lord's own energy. The material ego is endowed predominantly with active power of three kinds: goodness, passionate, and ignorance. It is from these three types of material ego that the mind, the senses of perception, the organs of action, and the gross elements evolve. And in the purport it says, in the beginning, from clear consciousness of the pure state of Krishna consciousness, the first contamination sprang up. Wow. This is called false ego, or identification of the body as self. The living entity exists in the natural state of Krishna consciousness, but he has marginal independence, in other words, limited independence. And this allows him to forget Krishna. In other words, limited independence means you only have two choices. Either you accept Krishna or you don't accept Krishna. See, that's why it says it's limited to just these two things that you can, let's say, believe in. The living entity exists in the natural state of Krishna consciousness, but he has marginal independence. And this allows him to forget Krishna. Yeah, either you forget Krishna or you accept Krishna. Originally, pure Krishna consciousness exists, but because of misuse of marginal independence, there is a chance of forgetting Krishna. Well, this is another way of saying this. As soon as you put your child in modern schools, there's a good chance of forgetting Krishna. This is exhibited in actual life. There are many instances in which someone acting in Krishna consciousness suddenly changes. In the Upanishads, it's stated, therefore, that the path of spiritual realization is just like the sharp edge of a razor. The example is very appropriate. One shaves his cheeks with a sharp razor very nicely, but as soon as his attention is diverted from the activity, he immediately cuts his cheek because he mishandles the razor. Yeah, so as soon as you put your kid in school, everything you tried to teach your kid about Krishna consciousness can be turned upside down. And eventually, the kid gets to be 16 or 20 years old, they don't believe in God anymore. not only they don't believe in Krishna, they don't believe in God. So not only must one come to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness, but one must also be very careful. Any inattentiveness or carelessness may cause fall down. The fall down is due to false ego. From the status of pure consciousness, the false ego is born because of misuse of independence. We cannot argue about why false ego arises from pure consciousness. Okay, so that's a good statement. We can't argue about why false ego arises from pure consciousness. Factually, there is always the chance that this will happen. And therefore, one has to be very careful. False ego is the basic principle of all material activities, which are executed in the modes of material nature. As soon as one deviates from pure Krishna consciousness, he increases his entanglement in material reaction. The entanglement of materialism is the material mind, and from this material mind, the senses and material organs become manifest. So, it's like shaving with a double blade, right? If you make a little mistake, you can cut yourself. So the same way, originally pure Krishna consciousness exists, but because of misuse of marginal independence, in other words, because of misuse of limited independence, there's a chance of forgetting Krishna. This is what's happening every day in life. Kids.
The material ego and false ego are just synonyms. Can be
What's that?
the material ego and false ego, they are just synonyms.
Synonyms?
Yeah.
They're the same.
Exchange.
Say that again.
Can they be interchangeably used?
So say the whole thing.
Material ego, the word material ego and false ego, are they synonymous with each other? Like, are they
Yeah,
same
well,
words?
material ego and false ego. Yeah, that's right. Only one ego, and not two egos. Yeah. Either it's the false ego, or it's the real ego. Okay, so most kids are being taught the false ego.
Yeah.
Ego means I am.
Yeah.
So I am this body. That's what they teach in school. I am this body. I am not this body. I'm a spirit soul. That's taught in spiritual circles.
There is no, we don't call it, there's a real ego versus, in the past, my understanding was, if you
Ego means I am. I am.
if you associate that you are a servant of Krishna, that's a real ego.
Correct.
But if you associate yourself, I'm just this body, then it's a false ego.
Yeah, ego means I am.
Hmm.
And then I am what? I am this body. Okay, that's false ego.
Hmm.
I am the eternal servant of Krishna. It's real ego.
But when we see that I'm the servant of Krishna, when we realize it, is there a room for ego at all?
No, they're always going to be ego.
Ego is your identity.
Identity. Okay.
It's either,
Identity is not lost, right? So the identity, is it with the body or is it as the servant of
So that means there's a transition of real ego to false ego because of the.
Yeah, that's what here, right? That's what
Yeah.
here specifically. So this fall down is due to false ego. And it says, from the status of pure consciousness, the false ego is born because of the misuse of independence. Means like when we decided that, we're not going to be the servants of the Lord, then automatically you fall into the false ego.
And to me, ahankara means always comes as a negative word, but well, that's where my
Ahankara is actually is the false ego, because ahamkara means like I'm the doer.
kara means do. Okay.
Yeah, so that is where the word Sanskrit
So
word.
then we can't call the pure ego because the name itself, I am the doer.
Ahamkara means false ego. The real identity is when we are.
So we can't use the ahankara there.
No. Ahankara by default means false ego.
So, major takeaway. Any inattentiveness or carelessness may cause fall down. There it is. Any inattentiveness or carelessness may cause fall down. This fall down is due to false ego. From the status of pure consciousness, the false ego is born because of misuse of independence. We cannot argue about why false ego arises from pure consciousness. A big statement. People will argue about that. How is that possible? And like people say, well, if everything is Krishna, then how can people forget Krishna? If everything is Krishna, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they can do it by misuse of their independence, develop this false ego, or they fall down to the false ego. Ego means I am. So I am this body, or I am the eternal servant of Krishna. Those are the two possibilities. So at a certain point, a kid can, well, as soon as they're born, they believe I am this body. Later on in life, well, let's say they're like 6 years old or 8 years old, and you tell them that, I am means I am the eternal servant to Krishna. They believe it. They're forced to believe it by the parents. But later on, they get to be 16 years old. So I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe that I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. I believe that I am, an American, or I am this, or I am that. So this I am changes. Right? There was one black devotee. His name was Murli, and he was initiated. But he was not. He didn't have hardly. He didn't have hardly any education in his life. He was a poor black guy. But he became a devotee, and he was following all the rules and regulations. But one day he met a preacher, a black preacher, and the black preacher convinced him that he should throw his bead bag in the garbage can. And Murli was not very educated, right? He was a nice person, but he had bad association his whole life. The best thing ever happened to his life was he met the devotees, and for some period he was Krishna conscious. But the Christian preacher, convinced him that his bead bag was the devil. So Murli threw his bead bag into a garbage can and quit Krishna consciousness. So I met him after he did that. I said, Murli, I haven't seen you for a little while. What's happening? Oh, I don't believe in Christianity. So I met this preacher. He told me that the devil was my bead bag, and I threw it in the garbage can. He told me to throw it in the garbage. So overnight, he went from being Krishna conscious to back to what he was before, living as a homeless person in the streets, right? And because some preacher convinced them that his feedback was the devil. It's like unbelievable. Right? But no, there are people that are that dumb in this world. So there, that's why it says here, any inattentiveness or carelessness may cause fall down. Fall down is due to false ego. From the status of pure consciousness, the false ego is born because of misuse of independence. Now let's analyze that statement. That's a really profound statement. And then Prabhupada says, we cannot argue about why false ego arises from pure consciousness. Factually, there is always a chance that this will happen. Therefore, one has to be very careful. False ego is the basic principle of all material activities which are executed in a mode of material nature. As soon as one deviates from pure Krishna consciousness, he increases his entanglement in material reaction. The entanglement of materialism is the material mind, and from this material mind, the senses and material organs become manifest. These are all very profound statements by Prabhupada. So if we're Krishna conscious, we have to be very careful. Any inattentiveness or carelessness may cause fall down. It's a fact. And this fall down is due to false ego. So, like in my own personal experience, I had to convince myself that I was not an Armenian. That was not easy.
Yeah.
I was taught right from childhood, that's who I am. So I had to, distance myself from that idea that I am this, born in this family, born in this race or this community, etc. And then, because I was taught the opposite.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That is applicable, Maharaj, everywhere. In India also, people, they are, when they're growing, they're teaching, oh, you are Indian, like you're.
Yeah. Yeah, you, Bharatiya.
So, yes.
Yeah.
When you are going through this phase, Maharaj, during that, you were like thinking that's the thing, like this is the thing. But it's like all, we have wasted our so much time just believing it. It's good we didn't act on it. Because a lot of people, Maharaj, they act on it and they become like a soldier or military person and they have like a strong belief and
Yeah.
they waste their life.
Yeah.
And I was having a conflict with my own parents. That my statement is I want to please God by distributing books and prasadam in our village, and they're very adamant and against it. Their conviction is they can please gods by sacrificing goats and sheep and chicken. So this is
Where did they learn
don't-
that from?
uh,
How did they learn that?
from the culture. It's culture developed
From
somehow.
their sadhus?
From their parents passed it down to them.
Yeah.
Now we are trying to break
They have the
that.
same thing in Christianity. They sacrifice goats and have a barbecue and then they eat it. And that happens all over the place.
At Gita Jayanti, we are trying to raise books. And I told my mom that I will ship 1,000 books to the home. They freaked out.
They what?
They freaked out.
Yeah, they didn't want you to do that. Yes, this is ignorance. Ignorance is very predominant in the world today. That's why a devotee has to be very, very careful. Very, very careful.
Not find a way to not to disturb them to also accomplish the goal.
Mhm.
That's why it says that originally pure Krishna consciousness exists. But because of misuse of marginal independence, there's a chance of forgetting Krishna. Okay, so that's a big word, marginal independence. What does it mean? That means that we can be in the middle, and either we go this way or we go that way. Right? So that's why it says marginal independence. We have that independence to go either this way or that way. So, but because of misuse of marginal independence, meaning making the wrong decision, there's a chance of forgetting Krishna. That's for everyone. This is exhibited in actual life. There are many instances in which someone acting in Krishna consciousness suddenly changes. In the Upanishads, it is stated, therefore, that the path of spiritual realization is just like the sharp edge of a razor. The example is very appropriate. One shaves his cheeks with a sharp razor very nicely, but as soon as his attention is diverted from the activity, he immediately cuts his cheek because he mishandles the razor. So the same way, any moment we can fall down.
And we experience that, Guru Maharaj. We have 364 days association with devotees, 1 day association with non-devotees. We can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because,
Your recent experience.
Recent experience. I was with 4 days with my graduate friends who are non-devotees. Even though I was 350 days associated with devotees, I could tell how they bring us down.
and they were trying to entice you, how wonderful it is to be a karmi.
Our conscience.
You're missing everything. You're having a good time, and you are like
And that was on, that too, it was in Las Vegas.
you went to Las Vegas.
Yeah. Only 1 day there. Actually, the plan was to go to Gian National Park. So to go there,
You had to go through Las Vegas.
yeah. Only
So your friends wanted to go into the casinos.
they went. We are very strict.
What?
They went. They did casino. They gambled. They got intoxicated. They had meat eating. They did. So, but we want to show give association of us so that the devotee is very strict. We don't break on those things. They try to entice in many ways. But
That was dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous. You see how the karmis are. They want to convince you to break your vows. That's success for them.
Yeah.
They can help you break your vows. That's their success.
Okay, shall we wrap up the count? Hare Krishna, will you